Hello, we are back for the Knowing You show. I'm Tiffany Cano. I love interviewing our empathic, sensitive, intuitive, spiritual folks on the Knowing You show. And today I have a guest, a JV partner named Elizabeth Johnston. Say hi. Elizabeth is an author, a professor, a story coach. She helps heart-centered entrepreneurs unearth their personal stories so they can more easily connect to their ideal clients. Elizabeth has written for Huffington Post, Good Men Project, Leaders in Heels, and many other online and print publications. She is a contributing writer for the best-selling book, The Montreal Book of Everything, and has also written, produced, and directed a short film, Keepsake, which has shortlisted in 2 film festival competitions. Her nonfiction book, No Small Potatoes, was made possible through a Canada Council for the Arts Writing Agent grant. Currently, Elizabeth is gearing up for a new season of her podcast, Own Your Creativity. So thanks, Elizabeth.
Great to be here.
Doing great work.
Thank you.
So talk to me about creativity. Why is it important to you?
Well, thank you for that question. Creativity is really important to me because we don't have enough of it. We have it, but we often overlook it or don't realize that it's actually one of the things that is going to help us do everything else in our lives. And so I teach creative writing, and I've been teaching all different kinds of writing for over 20 years, everything from poetry to even business communication and memoir and screenwriting. And a lot of people think that, oh, I'll take a screenwriting course or a memoir course, and it's just kind of like a fun thing to do, and then they forget, that part of themselves. But when they're unearthing their stories, when they are exercising that creativity muscle, it's like you unearth all of this energy to do everything else. It really does help you think, feel, and do better. And it's a highly underutilized resource in our lives. And so I think it's so important to access it because it's also where our soul and our passion is. When we connect to our creativity, we are able to connect to our soul work and our purpose. So
I love that. Yeah. And what do you feel are the benefits of writing stories about our life?
Yeah, it's surprising the benefits that we do have when we're writing about our lives, because especially memoir, that's one of my favorite things is memoir writing, or just writing about your life. It doesn't have to be a big, long book, a big, long story. It can be just, regularly writing about your life. Even in a journal, that's good too. But when you are part of a group that is working on different themes, you can look back at what happened in your life and then talk about, yes, what happened, but also how you overcame it or how it helped you be the person you are today. And when it's like this alchemical process that you take yourself through when you look back with the wisdom that you have now and see, that's how I got here. Because sometimes in our past, there are things that have happened and we think, that was a dark time in my life and it's got no use. I want to forget it, put it aside. But oftentimes there were lessons in there that can actually help us figure out our next steps. And then, when we do that, it's almost like we're clearing some of the weight of the past from us. So that just makes us feel lighter. It makes us feel like we can do things that maybe we didn't realize we had the strength and resilience to do. But when we look back, it's like, oh, that was really difficult, but I came through it and as a better version of myself. So, it helps us understand our own strengths. But it also affects our immune system. And this is actually scientifically proven.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that immune system in just a second. But I've also noticed, for me too, when I have taken the time to write my story, it has this freeing component, this lifting of old stuff.
Yeah.
And it can, and then, as you mentioned, we can reflect back and think, oh, wow, that was a tough time in my life. And I got through it, and have a chance for celebration even of those goals and what happened.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so important to celebrate that we got this far, like we all have our challenges, but just the fact that we're here means that we're creative. But I like to say that we have to own our creativity, right? It didn't happen by accident. It may feel like it did, but it didn't, right? We made conscious decisions to get us to this point, and to, celebrate them gives us the courage to try new things and go in different directions. But it also can help us understand the steps that we took to get here, and then we can help somebody else.
Yeah. And what about for entrepreneurs? How can telling our stories help our business?
Well, that's the first one. What I just mentioned is that when you figure out, let's say, you had a chronic illness, or an autoimmune disease, and contrary to allopathic medicine, you went and you found what worked for you, and that now you are, if not 100%, then pretty close to 100% better, and you want to help other people now. But like, you have to stop. It's like, okay, so what were the steps that I took? How did I get here? And when you write out that story, then you can actually start helping other people, because they say you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be one step ahead of the person coming up behind you, right? So, but if you're able to put it down in the form of a story, that, this is what I did first, and this is how I, tried this out. And then I went down this path, that didn't work. I went down that path, that didn't quite work. But then when I put these two things together, that worked, right? So when we're starting to get our methodology down, and so that can be real helpful. That can go into our know, like, and trust factor, right? So if we're going to be saying, like, you don't need to go this conventional route, you could actually do this instead. Well, why should I believe you? So then you have that personal story ready at hand. Oh, I can't hear you.
And what is a mission memoir, and how does that serve us?
Yeah, so there are different kinds of memoirs, and there's the memoir where you're really just writing about your life from a certain period of time. It's usually about your personal life, whereas a mission memoir combines that personal story, but also with your methodology. So like I was saying before, that, if you've figured out a method to help people or to solve a problem, then you write about that, but in the context of your own personal journey. So it's a personal journey, but also like a how-to in terms of what you do and your expertise.
And what about people who have resistance to writing their own story? Like, maybe they think it'd be too heavy or too overwhelming if they've experienced, negative things in their life, or maybe some of those traumas make them not even be able to remember certain sections of their life. I've had clients like that, where there's weeks or months or years even that are just pulled out of their memory.
Yeah. So the thing to realize is that even if we can remember, each one of us is creating our identity every single day. So in some ways, it could actually be a blessing that we don't remember some things, right? Because then we don't have to overcome those, and we can actually just start with what we have now, right? But the funny thing about life writing, and this is one of the things that I do with people, I have programs that we, explore a different theme every week, and it isn't to write a memoir. It is just different themes, and people are amazed at what they can remember when they're given an assignment. And they work on it in the next week. And then also that great thing too is that when they share their stories and they hear from everybody else, and it's like, oh, that reminds me of, something else that I forgot to put in my story. So just the fact of being in the group helps people jog their memories. And of course, I have different exercises to help people jog their memories and, through sensory details and that sort of thing. People are often really amazed at the things that they can remember. So that's like one half of your question. The other half was about trauma. And this is something that can be really difficult and hold people back from maybe even if they do want to write about their story, it could hold them back because it is very delicate or difficult for them to look at those issues. And so I think it's very important that people trust their body when they're giving them that resistance, because when you're ready to write it, you will be able to share it. And so that's the first thing. But then the other thing too is that when you come to a class of mine or when we work one-on-one, my approach is always from the perspective of how are you stronger now, right? And so you look back at what happened, not to wallow in it. Let's say you had a really horrific divorce or something, and, he or she did all these horrible things, and that's a fact. But that's not the point. The point is that those things happened and that you rose above them to achieve what you have now. So when you're switching the focus to how did I become the strong person I am now, those details of your trauma or the difficulties take their place in the story. They don't overwhelm the story or yourself.
Is that how you reframe it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is all about reframing. And like I was saying, we do recreate ourselves every single day, right? We're choosing what we put out there, and so reframing is actually something we do every day, but we do it consciously in the process of unearthing your personal stories.
And tell me about where you do these. I mean, obviously with COVID, we're not really getting together in person so much. So are you doing virtual events to help people tap into their stories?
Yes. I've been doing online workshops for many years, but now they're just more popular than ever with COVID. And actually at the beginning of COVID, I sat down and I thought, how can I help? What could I do to help people deal with COVID and rise to the challenge that COVID is presenting to us? And so I did a 5-day challenge of using creativity to cope with COVID. And that led to a 6-week series of workshops that help people write about their lives and see how strong and resilient they are, and using different creativity exercises to bolster people's creativity and show how they can use that in their everyday life and really thrive instead of just survive.
I remember when COVID started, how creative I got.
Yeah.
Maybe I was virtually tuning into your event. I mean, I was beautifying my home and my garden and doing artwork and then I got extremely massively busy with healing sessions. But I think that when we can tap into creativity, even during, a pandemic or, crazy times in our lives, it can be so helpful.
But
it's healing.
It is, but it's interesting that, at the beginning of COVID, that's what your response was to do things that are creative, right? You were like filling up your cup, but also recognizing that that's what's that's what's needed, that we do need to pay attention to that. And that's probably what's carrying you through to this point, is that you took that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And where do you live? Are you in Canada? Because I mean,
Yes,
okay.
I am in Canada, in Montreal, Quebec.
Okay.
Yeah. And what about you?
I'm in Southern California,
Oh,
near Disneyland.
oh my goodness.
10 minutes from Disneyland.
Yeah. It's not as hot here usually as where you are, I'm sure. But I had to turn my air conditioning off for the interview, and that's why I was like, dab, dab, dab. It's very hot today.
No problem at all. I know I have my AC and my fan on, two fans, but I turned the loud one off because I didn't want it to mess up this interview. So in terms of our stories and empaths, I mean, empaths are feelers. We feel so much. One of the biggest challenges is being able to discern between our own feelings and other people's feelings.
Yeah.
So do you have any kind of tips that empaths can use that could help their story writing process be even more healing?
Yeah, I think that, just generally speaking, writing in a journal every day is a really good way to focus in on your stories, like even before you start seeing clients or, go out in the world, before you go get your latte, just like almost when you first wake up. I find that the most productive one, because you're still kind of in your body as opposed to, feeling what's going on around you. And so that's what I would recommend, is that right away, early in the morning, even before you get out of bed, if possible, just for 5 minutes to start writing those stories down. And I think too, like, calling in your angels too, and whatever, spiritual guides that you have to create a space for you just to explore your stories in a safe space.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anything else you feel called to share with us today?
Well, I have something that I'd like to offer your tribe. And it's a checklist for the 8 dimensions of wellness. It's actually a writing program that I created around the 8 dimensions of wellness. And it's just a checklist to check in with yourself about the different elements. There's environmental and physical and intellectual, which is also part of creativity. And so, yeah, I'd like to offer people that if they're interested in just doing a little diagnostic on where they are in those different dimensions.
Thank you. Is that something you could put in the chat for us?
Yes, I will do that right now. Let's see if that goes through. And yeah, I don't know if it went in there, but anyway, I put it in. I can put it in after the broadcast.
Oh, you put it in the private chat.
Did I? Okay. Where does it go?
Go into comments.
Go into comments. Okay.
And you have to put it there.
Oh, okay. I can't seem to stream your live view or comment shows. This is an example. I don't know. I can't see a box to put it in.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah. We'll get it there.
Okay. Alrighty. And what's a good way to keep in touch with you?
Well, you can, I'm on Facebook, so that's really an easy way. Oh, there you go. Awesome.
I just manually put it in from my Facebook page.
Oh, lovely.
So that you could see it. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So, connect with me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group as well. People are interested, Own Your Creativity. And you could also contact me at my email, info@ownyourcreativity.com.
Thank you so much. Well, have a beautiful, blessed day, or I guess it's night over
Yeah.
there because you're 3 hours ahead. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely.
Namaste. Bye for now, everyone.